Deep in a jungle, so green and so wide, lived a monkey named Miko, with nothing to hide. His fur was the colour of coconuts brown, and his tail was the longest in all of the town. He swung through the trees with a whoosh and a zing, and oh, what a mischievous song he would sing. He loved juicy mangoes and berries so sweet, and wiggling his funny long monkey feet. The parrots all knew him, the snakes and the frogs, as he'd leap over rivers and slumber on logs. Miko was clever, as clever could be, the smartest young monkey on any tall tree. He knew all the secrets the jungle could keep, from the burrows so shallow to the canyons so deep. He knew which big flowers would open at noon, and which little insects would dance to the moon. He could tell by the rustle of leaves in the breeze if a slithering python was climbing the trees. But his favourite secret, a treasure to hold, was a plant with a story that needed to be told. Its leaves were like emeralds, shiny and bright, and they held a strange magic that worked in the night. He'd watch them and guard them with all of his might. One sunny morning on this very day, Friday, the 25th of July, Miko was peeling a banana for lunch. He sat on a branch, just munching a bunch. He heard a strange noise, a chatter and shout, and wondered what all the commotion was about. It wasn't the roar of a tiger so grand, or the trumpeting sound of an elephant band. It was a new sound, a curious hum, and Miko decided some fun had to come. He peeked through the leaves with his eyes open wide to see what new creatures had come here to hide. Down on the path, in a colourful line, was a group of strange beings, which seemed quite benign. They wore funny hats and carried big packs, with cameras and bottles strapped to their backs. They pointed at flowers and looked at the sky, as a bright blue butterfly fluttered on by. Miko watched them with glee, with a grin on his face. This slow-moving group set a very slow pace. He followed them quietly, from tree to high tree, thinking, what fun can these visitors be for a monkey like me? He was ready for mischief, for laughter and play. As Miko crept closer, swinging from a vine, he saw one peculiar man in the line. The others had hair of all colours and shapes, flowing like waterfalls, messy like apes. But this man was different. This man was unique, with a head smooth and shiny right down to his cheek. The sun bounced right off it, a dazzling bright glare, for the poor man had almost no hair growing there. A few lonely strands, so wispy and thin, were all that was left where his hair should have been. Miko felt a small pang, a strange sort of pity, for a head with no hair in this big jungle city. The monkey remembered his magical plant, the one that he guarded. He just had to grant this man a great gift, a wonderful prize, a full head of hair that would pop out his eyes. It was a kind thought, a generous deed, but Miko's good nature was mixed with some greed. He loved a good prank, a giggle, a jest, and he thought this would put his best trick to the test. He imagined the man with a big, bushy mane dancing for joy in the warm jungle rain. It would be the best story he'd ever could tell of how he had broken the bald-headed spell. With a flick of his tail and a leap through the air, Miko landed right in the man's path with a flare. He chattered and pointed, he danced and he spun to make sure the man knew that he was the one. The tourists all gasped, some giggled with fright to see a wild monkey appear in plain sight. But the bald man just stared with a curious frown as Miko the monkey jumped up and then down. Miko pointed right at the man's shiny head, then pointed back to the jungle instead, a clear invitation, or so the man read. The man was quite puzzled, he didn't understand the gestures Miko made with his little brown hand. The monkey then chittered and ran up a tree and returned with a handful of leaves, wild and free. They were the special green leaves, the magical kind, the very best secret Miko could find. He offered them humbly with a bow of his head. A gift for your troubles, his actions had said. The man took the leaves, all glossy and green, the strangest encounter he had ever seen. Miko knew what would happen. The fun was to start. Miko began his important instruction, trying his best to avoid any obstruction. He chattered and gestured, a masterful mime, showing the man how to pass the long time. First he pretended to crush up the leaves, a trick he kept hidden right up his long sleeves. Then he mimed adding a sprinkle of water, just like the jungle magic had taught her. He stirred his imaginary pot with a stick, showing the man how to do the whole trick. He made a green paste in his clever mind's eye and then pointed back to the man standing by. The man watched the monkey and thought, well, why not? This jungle is strange and it's terribly hot. What have I to lose but these last silly hairs? Perhaps this small monkey is answering my prayers. So he found a flat rock and he mashed up the green, creating the goopiest paste ever seen. It was sticky and lumpy and smelled like the ground, but he scooped it all up without making a sound. He trusted the monkey, he followed the plan, this hopeful and hairless and sun-dazzled man. He was ready for a change, for a brand new thick thatch. He slapped the green paste right onto his head, and a shiver of hope through his whole body spread. It felt cool and tingly and a little bit weird, but he smoothed it all over his head and his beard. The other tourists all giggled and stared at the man with green goo where he should have been haired. "It's a jungle spa treatment," one of them cried. But the man didn't care. He was beaming with pride. He sat on a log, so patient and still, waiting for magic to work its great will. He imagined thick locks so curly and grand. But then something happened that wasn't so nice. It didn't bring magic, it didn't entice. The man felt an itch, and he gave it a scratch, and a lonely old hair came away from the patch. Then another fell out, and another, and more. Soon all of his last wispy hairs were on the floor. His head was now balder and shinier than ever. The monkey's great plan had not been so clever. The man looked in his pocket mirror and let out a yell. The magical cure had broken its spell. He was furious and red, a terrible sight. "You tricked me!" the man roared, his face full of rage, like a lion let out of a very small cage. "You mischievous monkey, you horrible pest! You made me look silly in front of the rest!" He jumped to his feet with a thunderous sound and chased poor Miko all over the ground. Miko was shocked. This wasn't the plan. He hadn't meant harm to this hairless old man. He chattered in protest. He tried to explain that good things take time through sunshine and rain. But the man wouldn't listen. He just shook his fist. Miko felt a great sadness well up in his chest. His prank had gone wrong. He had failed the big test. With a flick of his tail and a sorrowful leap, he swung to the trees, so high and so steep. He didn't look back at the man down below, whose anger had started a terrible show. The monkey felt foolish and lonely and small. He shouldn't have meddled or meddled at all. He vanished right into the jungle so deep, with a promise to himself he would certainly keep. No more tricks on the visitors who came to his home. A few days went by, and the man's anger cooled. He felt a bit silly for being so fooled. He washed the green paste from his head in a stream, still sad about his lost hair-growing dream. But then, in the morning, while combing his head, a habit he kept though the hairs were all dead, he felt something new, something prickly and rough. It wasn't just skin, it was fuzzy, new stuff. He ran to his mirror and looked with a gasp. A fine layer of new hair was growing at last. It was real and it was thick. The man felt a wave of regret and of shame. He had shouted and chased and called Miko a name. The monkey was right. His magic was true. He had just been too quick to believe something new. He had judged him too fast, without patience or trust, and his angry reaction had been so unjust. The monkey had tried to give him a gift, and all he had done was create a huge rift. He wanted to say sorry, to thank the small creature, and learn all about this great jungle feature. He walked to the spot, but the monkey was gone. The moral is simple. It is clear as the dawn. Have patience and trust, and don't judge things too fast, for the best kind of magic is the magic that lasts.